Yes.
Rexmico?
Yes.
Goodchild?
Yes.
Perky?
Yes.
Could we all stand and pledge allegiance, please, with us? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So motion. Second.
Motion made and second to approve the agenda. First thing on the agenda is we have a hearing today, and it is pertaining to a lease agreement with the Iowa State University Extension, Plymouth County, portion of the lower level of the Lamar's Convention Center. At its September 16, 2014 meeting, the council set this as a date and time to hear the public comment regarding the proposed 5-year lease with the Iowa State University Extension, Plymouth County, for the exclusive use of the office space, which was a former vanilla and chocolate room in the lower level of the Lamar's Convention Center, and non-exclusive use of other areas. A copy of this proposal lease is attached, and I think you've had the opportunity to see this. At this time, I'm going to open up the hearing and ask if there's any written or oral objections or comments to this proposal. I will ask once again if there's any written or oral objections or comments to the proposal. Hearing none, I will declare the hearing closed at this time. The financial impact of the gross revenue of this is $16,800 annually, and this is going to the Convention Center Fund. Any questions from the council? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion approving a 5-year lease with ISU Extension Plymouth County for the use of office space in the lower level of Lamar's Convention Center.
Is there a second?
So moved.
Motion been made and second approving a 5-year lease with the Iowa State Extension and Plymouth County use of the office space in the Lamar's lower level Convention Center. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And Brad and group, I want to thank you for being here today. This has been a very, very good, I want to call marriage between the city and the Iowa State Extension. I remember very vividly, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, we put this together. And it's worked out good for both of us, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next thing is general discussion. If anybody has any general discussion pertaining to comments, concerns, or anything good that's going on in the city, why we ask you to step up to the podium, state your name and address, and the council cannot make any decisions, but they're always willing to listen to what the concerns or anything anybody might have. Hearing none, we'll go on to the Thumbs Up Award, or citizen, some Thumbs Up Award.
Nothing today, sir.
Amanda, Rex?
I'll pass, thank you.
Okay, I have one. Again, our fire department in this town has been doing a tremendous job in as far as public safety. And they have just been awarded, out of 850 departments, they were one of 9 fire departments in the state of Iowa awarded for a fire prevention program and 0 fatalities for the year 2013. This includes giving talks to children in schools. They furnish books, coloring books, and things like this, which is many times donated by our businesses here in town, which we're very thankful for. And so, Thumbs Up Award goes to Dave Shipper and his group for this wonderful award, again presented by the state of Iowa. Consent items. All items under the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of those items unless a request is made prior to the time the council votes on the motion. Today we have 7 of them. Approval of the September 16, 2014 regular meeting minutes. Number 2 is a list of bills for the period ending 9/30/14. Number 3 is a request to close the street on Wells Enterprises. Number 4 is a handicap parking space. Number 5 is pedestrian crossing. Number 6 is the airport application for state aviation funding. And number 7 is a renewal of the liquor license, beer wine permit for the La Fiesta Shara, KC's, and Cargo Express number 2. Does any council members have any questions in regard to the consent item? Yes, Scott?
Wells is represented here if there is any questions on the Wells Enterprise
Oh, yeah.
request.
Oh, fine, thank you. Is there any questions that you'd like to ask the Wells Enterprises? If you could step up to the podium, please.
Hi, my name is Scott Flynn. I'm from Sioux City with a firm called ECS Engineering and Construction Services. I'm owner's representative for Wells Dairy on this project. And a couple of things, I guess, I just did need to clarify that we've got also included with the temporary street closure we've requested, that we've also got included in that an easement for the 4 columns on the north side of the building. Is that correct? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I can give you just a quick synopsis of it. It's
We appreciate it.
it's a project that we're going to do in order to support some larger air handling units for their process. We're going to put 4 columns on the north side of the building. We're going to put a steel frame up on the top of the building. It'll rest on these 4 columns, plus the center line columns and structure of the facility. It'll be a big steel frame that'll be sitting up there, and then we'll set air handling units on top of that. In order to do it, we need to do it in phases. We're going to set the precast columns first. They're going to be right abutted up against the wall. And I know previously, as I understand it from Mr. Langle, that the entire street was vacated for potential future construction up there. We've designed these 4 columns such that they can be used for any subsequent expansion that would occur. But at this point, what we're looking to do is just install these 4 columns adjacent to the north face of the building, and the plan was just to paint them the same color as the building so they blend in. And they were hoping to get started digging those footings as soon as the process was approved. And then for the temporary street closure, it'll be a little sporadic for the crane work that needs to take place out there. We'll bring a crane in to set the columns in place. That crane will go away, and once the steel arrives, we'll bring the crane back sometime in early November, mid-November timeframe to start setting the steel and putting the units up there. So that's the kind of general scope of work for the project. Do I have any questions?
Any questions for me?
Are the columns concrete?
Yes, sir. They're precast.
That's good to know.
All right.
We appreciate the communication.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks a lot.
Motion to approve consent items 1 through 7 with resolution 1433. And 34, excuse me.
Second.
Quick question for Scott before we vote. On D5, that pedestrian crossing, were you looking at option 1? Because we've got 3 options and it's not, it just has a cost not to exceed.
Yes, the solar head crossing.
Okay.
Answer your question.
Yeah, I just, it wasn't specified down below, so.
It's, I should comment, it's very unlikely, but it is possible that during periods of extended cloud cover, that there wouldn't be sufficient power to run those lights. I think it's remote enough that I'm recommending the solar option.
How long are they supposed to run on, a full day's charge? Did they specify?
I want to say they indicated 10 to 12 days.
Oh, okay, so you'd have to have weeks
The
without.
extended period of time would be 2 weeks of pure cloudiness,
Okay,
so
Okay.
that sounds good. That sounds good.
Motion been made and second on the consent items 1 through 7. Could we have a roll call on that, Bev?
Knapp,
Yes.
Rexvenko,
yes,
Erke,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Goodchild.
Yes.
Motion carried. Going to E, the action items. The City Energy Management Program Agreement. Attached is a copy of the City Energy Management Program Agreement with the Iowa Economic Development Association. Staff recommends the council approval of the agreement. The staff also recommends council establish a city energy advisory team to work with the regional energy manager on the program with members from 5 city department heads, 2 city council, Utility Committee, and 2 from the utility company members, and 2 citizens at large. Scott, would you want to take a few minutes and explain this program? I know it's important.
Yeah, one correction, one correction in what was written in your agenda is it's not the Iowa Economic Development Association, it's the authority. So it's the old IED, which is now IEDA. Anyway, it's the authority that we're talking about. And that is correct in the attachment, which is the agreement itself. If you read the first line, it is the authority that we're contracting with. Anyway, you heard about this program prior, and in fact, you authorized the submission of application to belong to this program. And what it is the state of Iowa thought it to be important that they hired 2 regional energy managers to represent the statewide. And there is one lady that's been hired to represent the east half of the state, and a gentleman is representing the west half. His name is Jason Parker. And so Jason would be assigned to Lamar's in order to work with us in a committee, a team is what they want to call it, in order to go through our buildings, evaluate our buildings, do energy audits of our buildings, and the word building there can be loosely taken. It can also be functions. So street lighting, for example, it is on the table here as well as process energy. And so your water plant is huge in process, your wastewater plant is huge in process. So we would look at all of these different areas to try to come up with firm recommendations for you to allocate dollars to get more energy efficient with the use of our energy. Bill pulled together for me what we spend in energy costs annually, and it's right at $700,000. So it's not a small number. We spend a lot of money with energy, and I think going through a program fairly structured to really evaluate what we do, how we do it, in the locations that we do, is there things that we can do differently to save dollars in energy? And that'll hit the bottom line, it'll hit the budget, and hopefully we can find some significant savings so that we can impact the budget. With that being said, then, you've had the agreement. It's fairly lengthy, and there's a lot of things for the city of Lamar's to do. It covers almost the first 2 pages in its entirety. AIDA doesn't start until the 3rd page. So, and then the last page is signatures. So there is a lot for us to do and get done. However, I think this is one area that we could probably have a pretty substantial impact. The team, the advisory team that the mayor read, that is just my recommendation. There is no structure that AIDA is requiring. So I just put together, it's an 11-member team, 5 department heads, and then 2 from the utility companies, 2 from you, the council, and 2 at large. If you have better suggestion, we can talk about that. And then...
Scott, I didn't even consider on that committee, but that was issues regarding number of council people on it.
Believe it or not, I was going to say the same thing. I was wondering if John shouldn't be on that committee. I think Ken and I sit on utility, but I think John could offer some value there, so I concur.
I would certainly yield. I've got enough committees, so.
Yeah.
John,
I'll fight you to yield. No, I don't care. I'm not trying to get out of something, but I think John would be valuable, so if I'm selected, that's
I
fine,
think
but.
part of your education yet.
But
If you're inclined to select the 2 that are going to be on there, that'd be great.
Yeah.
At this meeting yet.
I think we just
I think
have.
we just did. Yeah.
So,
That's fine.
so Clark will be on and John will be on. Thank you.
Yep, that'd be fine.
Congratulations.
And the force be with you.
Yes.
We just sit quietly.
Got out of that one, didn't we?
You want to turn off off all the streetlights, just remember. Somebody tried to do that.
Does this Jason Parker then evaluate and come back and say, I suggest this, I suggest this? I mean, is that kind of how this is all formed?
5 of us went over to Storm Lake and sat through a morning's worth of kind of introductions and get to know each other, as well as what the regional energy manager is going to provide. And with some reservation, yes to your question. He's not going to be a single person doing it all, but that is the purpose of the regional manager, is to really dive in. And he's got some credentials. He works for an energy audit firm, and that is hired by Mid-American Energy as well as other energy companies to run these types of programs. So he comes with some credential as well, and he can really speak the language on energy audits and looking through buildings as to where those energy savings can be made.
Then, Scott, I had a quick question on the AIDA section on page 3. The first one is that they provide the funding for the REMs. But then-
100%.
But if you go down to number 9, provide a cost-sharing contract template, is that after the January 31st, 2016, or is that cost-sharing to implement the measures once they are determined, or what is the cost-sharing for?
What we heard is the cost sharing that you might have to come up with is on your vote only, which energy efficient projects will be implemented.
Improvements made.
And there may be assistance with whatever we implement.
There are some grant opportunities out there, but they're getting more and more limited. But absolutely, we would go after grants when and if it fits for the type of improvement that we're talking about.
But that's simply for changes we choose to make to save money in the long term.
Yes.
It's not to start picking up part of that REM cost.
That is
Okay.
correct.
That's your question?
Yep.
Any other questions regarding this city energy management program? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion approving city energy management program agreement number 14-CEMP-012.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second approving city energy management program agreement number 14-CEMP-012. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion establishing a city energy advisory team as amended for the city council members.
Is there a second?
So moved.
Motion made and second establishing a city energy advisory team as recommended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll move into the discussion area. Clark, you have
Nothing, thank you.
Donna?
Yes. In addition to one area that is of major concern over by the elevator, to the south side of the elevator, where the dip is now, according to our fire chief, too severe for one of the fire trucks to get through. There are several spots where the asphalt overlay has been done, where there's a very harsh difference between the two. And I'm wondering if they can go back over those and smooth them. I'm just concerned when snowplows come by, that they're just gonna take that new asphalt right off the top without more of a gradual slope. Over towards Westmar, where they did the overlay there on the north side of Westmar. And I don't know what we can do about our essentially drainage ditch in the street by the museum, but
All those will be addressed. It's work in progress. Barclays will be coming back to do some additional work on the inside of the building at Public Works, and we've identified 3 alley returns and 1 driveway up on Second. 3 alley returns on Third, plus the street, plus 2 driveways that will have additional fillets put in them. And then the the poor matching up of the coal joint that you're speaking of on 10th has been all pointed out to them. They also got to make it back, and they haven't done anything at the cemetery in accordance with, there's about a half mile of 10-foot wide asphalt that's going to go in the cemetery in accordance with what I laid out.
And were they gonna do one of the two, like North Lynn?
Northland
thought that
is
was
the, yeah, that's the extension of 10th. That was the intent, but in pulling the old asphalt off, and that needed to be pulled off because it was so badly broke up. Once we pulled it off, the underlying Portland cement concrete is settled in the middle, and so we have settlement problems, so that whole 280 feet is going to be completely removed and replaced with Portland cement concrete.
Kind of like was just done on Lee?
Likely, but a little more extensive yet. It'll go from curb to curb, and because of that, we'll also mess with the sidewalk on both sides.
So next spring then for that?
Well, I've got one bid, I'm waiting for the second. I hope to pull that trigger yet this month.
Okay. Without having to use special concrete for winter?
Yes.
Okay.
And when you talked to me about that, I did take a picture of that, and Scott and Bill are working on that. They do have a photo and stuff on that one. That's about down there by the elevator.
I can see what you meant though, because it's tough for a car to get through there, so I can't imagine.
They have that, they're working on that.
I don't know if it's our fire apparatus that caused it or some other truck, but there's scars in the pavement where it's been bottoming out.
Well, you have all the farm vehicles going over there too.
Yeah.
And that's we don't go that way. But, yeah, that's.
But yeah, if one of those tongues catches it or something, it's gonna
Yeah.
gouge that nicely, so,
Barclays are gonna be back Monday.
okay.
Thank you, Scott. Anything else,
Nope,
Delana?
that's it.
Rex?
Yeah, the post office alley is open.
Yes, it
And
is.
and smooth, and nice, and we don't have water sitting in the middle anymore. We don't have, the only slowdown we have is people writing out their checks and licking their stamps when they're at the mailbox. Because they don't do it before they get there.
Good luck fixing that.
It's amazing, but if you want to come out sometime, I'll let you sit for an hour and you'll see half a dozen of them doing it that way, because that's what they do. But no, it's
You may have to get out there and direct a little traffic.
it's very nice, and they did a good job. That was a rather tough project. Well, we also got garbage getting picked up now too, which is
Yeah.
even a better deal. So, haven't had that for a month, so we're pretty happy folks on that alley.
Anything else, Rex?
No, that's.
He's having a good day.
Well, the only thing I have is the email I received from Christine Schrader. Knew I was a council member and assumed I was on planning and zoning, which I do sit in on planning and zoning, but I'm not an official member. But her whole letter is talking about quiet zones for Lamar's on the railroad. And evidently has done some research on it, and I'll just pass it on to staff. But obviously, my answer would be, unless we raise the mill levy in town to pay for it, there's no way. I figure 7 crossings, and what'd you say, $1 million a crossing to get arms on them?
We're at least $500,000, even if we got a grant.
Yep, so
So-
I'll pass it on to city staff, and they can respond to it.
She did say, she called me also, though, she said that it can be as cheap as $10,000 a crossing, because there's some cones you can install that actually guide the sound in more of a tunnel, because a locomotive its sound is made to spread, and so these cones guide it. I mean, she was quite informational, but I agree with Ken. It's, and I told her, I said, well, it sounds like a budget issue. So, but
Yeah, the council has discussed it before, and I think the cost is a real inhibitor, but interesting, we can look at it.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. Scott?
This Thursday, we meet with the 2 contractors on the wastewater treatment plant, and that's kind of I'm hoping that it's the final. It don't have to be, but close to the final meeting with the contractors to work out any final details. and any final bugs in the system. We've been operating it now for, as all of you know, we've been operating it for nearly 3 months. And so they continue to find different things that need to be debugged and critiqued a little bit. So anyway, that's this Thursday. In visiting with McClure Engineering, it sounds like Caldwell is planning on coming to Lamar's with the fluted column parts. October 22nd is what they're anticipating at this point. The latest from them is that they would erect the fluted column yet this fall, while it's still reasonably good weather, so that they don't get too entangled with cold weather welding and such. And probably stop at the fluted column. If you take Highway 20 ever, near Dike, Iowa, that fluted column sat there for quite a while because of various reasons, I suppose, but same firm is doing it, Caldwell. And by the 15th of this month, Caldwell is supposed to have that 100% done, and they're going to be coming to Lamar's on the 22nd. So I wanted to give you that. Rice Lake is, for all intents and purposes, done with the booster station. It is our intent to energize the booster station and feed the booster station for the high elevation, low pressure zone via the new station, still keeping the old station on 12th Street alive and with the ability to turn it on if there is some debugging or failure in the new. We'd have our old one to back it up yet. And the new one would be fed directly off of the water plant and not off the tower, obviously, because the tower isn't done. It won't be feeding off the tower until probably September of next year. And then I should complete the story on the tower. If the fluted column gets done this fall, then the idea would be to cease construction for the months of December through part of March, restart the project in March, and build the bowl on top of that fluted column starting in March. And that should give sufficient time to have that fully erected such that painting could take place in the summer of 15 so that we could operate it by September of 15. So that's the newest and thought on the project. Once again on Thursday, coincidentally, we're going to have a meeting on that project to see if there's any changes to what I just told you. So those are the two big ones. Public Works Department, as you all know, the building is up. We have floors in both buildings at this point. Portland cement concrete in the main building. We have asphaltic concrete in the salt storage and cold storage. There is more to be done there, although the yield on the asphalt would indicate that we have the thickness we need. We shot the inside, and we'll probably need to put a skin coat on the surface in order to achieve the proper height of that floor. With asphalt, it's a little harder to control that than with Portland cement concrete. So again, sometime next week, Barclays will be back to finish that by putting some additional asphalt. I told you about the cemetery, so that'll be done next week as well by Barclays. And the importance of that is we have elevated the westmost and southmost gravel roads. We've elevated those and tipped them with some super elevation in order to attempt to keep the drainage within a low spot of the cemetery so that we can control the discharge from that low spot down through the neighborhood that had visited with you. And that project has started. We've taken out the bushes the neighborhood has. So the whole line of bushes are out, and I'm just waiting for schedules to free up by underground contractors to get that finished. In addition to that, we have Dave Clark working on the new tree disposal area. It's a little remote, so you might not have even noticed it. It's on the land that we swapped on the four-way swap on the wastewater. So it's west of the Floyd River and north of Riverview Park. So unless you go into Riverview and look north, you wouldn't even notice it's happening. We're grading that site so that we can move the leaf and grass site as well as the tree and branch site to the north, and per Dave's recommendations, Dave Shipper, get the two piles separated by sufficient distance so that if somebody does what they did in the past and puts something hot in there, if one goes up, they don't both go up, and get just more space around there for staging and for allowing people to come in and dump and et cetera, et cetera. And so in the not too distant future, we're going to be moving that site. People will have to drive farther north in order to dump their leaves and their grass and whatnot. So that's all I've got.
Question on, do we have all the water mains in related to the water tower project in that area out there?
Good question. No, we don't. 100% on 24th. So that goes virtually from Bodine's Baking Company's cone factory all the way to Marty Pippett's Winslow addition. That's 100%, and it's been energized since about midsummer. So we had water at the site for that long. Recently, our contractor has gone from 24th back up to 18th Street, but because of some stormwater issues and underground groundwater, we had to stop about 400 feet short of 18th Street. And that won't be completed until spring, when we can really get some additional storm sewer out there to redirect that stormwater to the basin that's on the Public Works site. So we got a little bit farther to go. We have water to the booster station, and it's fed from 24th. It just, we don't have the secondary feed from 18th.
The building hasn't been skinned yet. Are they waiting to do the brickwork on the front of that? Is that what's holding it up?
No, I think that's just really Jeremy Sitzman's schedule.
Oh, okay.
He was getting kind of tight, so he hired a large portion of the erection of that EPS building from a crew out of Sioux Falls. He coordinated it, and our contract is with him, but that crew had to leave, and so now it's Jeremy and his crew that's doing all the other work. So that's the skins on the inside, both walls and ceiling. It's the rest of the skin on the outside, which is the walls. So yeah, that crew from Sioux Falls erected the EPS and then put the tin up on the roof to really get it at least closed in.
So by end of November, we should be able to get the building closed in?
Oh, I'm even hoping sooner than that.
Okay.
So
We
when
wanna
are you
get-
expecting occupancy?
We're still somewhat hoping for December. But
That was the same word we used about 6 months ago, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. There's a lot of trades that need to get in there, which are all the electrical, mechanical, HVAC. So they need to get in and get their work done at this point.
Okay.
Overhead doors and so forth.
I walked around out there.
It seems like it's moved along fairly well. I think the way we handle it and the way we did the engineering and everything, I think was a good plan.
Yeah, and now the exterior concrete is happening, and that's Bears Construction.
Yeah.
Would it be any value of having Ryan come in next meeting and just giving us an update and overview?
That's a really good suggestion.
Yeah.
I'll ask him to do that.
It does bring something to mind. We do have, like when Bears was out there, right now we've got the sun that just rises approximately when people go to work. And it just sets when people are still going home, and people couldn't see those cement trucks on 18th stopped until they got really close, because I got a couple calls that way. And I remember we had the same thing on 12th when we were doing that. We had the same thing even on 15th when we were doing that, because there's a little bit of rise over those things before you all of a sudden see where people are and so forth. So you just might want to send a little bulletin to contractors or whatever that, hey, if you're working on city streets and you're pouring concrete, just, put up a flag or put something down the street.
Some advance warning.
Yeah, I mean, you could put up a triangle and people would slow down in town. It's just right now, I mean, I just don't think they think about that because they're trying to get their stuff done. But, it doesn't matter when the sun goes down at 9 o'clock at night or it goes up at 5 in the morning, but right now, this time and in the spring, we seem to have more issues. Kids are still going to school now right when the sun comes up, so we just don't need any mistakes.
Change in November 2nd.
Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else, Scott?
That's all I have.
Anything for Scott? Okay, Bill?
Nothing today, thank you.
Okay. That ends our council meeting, and we'll be going into closed session.
Motion to enter closed session under Iowa Code Section 21.51